Hello guys and welcome to our channel. Today we are going to discuss about a very extremely important chapter, the rise of nationalism in Europe. This is a chapter which is really important in class 10 and in the whole historic measures. This chapter is really important, and this chapter just talks about how Europe gained its independence. And now let's uh, imagine this image which you can see here. So here is a woman. This is an image which is painted by Frederick Suro in 1848. He visualized a woman with a charter stick and book of laws in her other hand, and people following her. So this is a very important image by significance. So let's jump on to the next topic. The French Revolution and the idea of the nation. Symbols of collective identity. These are the symbols or the laws which are introduced by Napoleon Bonaparte and other French personalities who took part in the French Revolution. La Patrie, the fatherland. La Citoyenne, the citizen. The French tricolor. The National Assembly. Hymns, oaths, commemoration of martyrs. Centralized administration and uniform laws. Abolition of internal duties and dues. Uniform system of weights and measures. Use of Persian French. French is the common language in the nation. Here you can see the map of Europe. So this is the period of transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to a body of French citizens. This was the aim of many French nationalists to transfer to abolish monarchy and give all the powers to the citizens. So this is a very important map. So you can see here, and this may come in exams, so kindly practice it. Let's jump on to the next topic. So let's talk about Napoleon Bonaparte. His famous quote, "Until you spread your wings, no idea how far you can fly," is the famous quote from Napoleon Bonaparte. And the point one, what are the changes with Napoleon Bonaparte brought about? First of all, he destroyed democracy in France and established Napoleonic Code or Civil Code in 1804. Let's talk about the features of Napoleonic Code now. So first, established equality before law. He did away with all the privileges based on birth. Secured right to property. Introduced uniform laws. Standardized and common national currency. Abolished the feudal system. In the town of guild, restrictions were removed. Transport and communication system were improved. So let's jump on to the next. Important questions from this part of the lesson. The Napoleonic Code exported the regions under French control. Explain with examples. Describe the events of French Revolution which had influenced the people belonging to other parts of Europe. The first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. Examine the statement. So question number 4. Napoleon had destroyed democracy in France, but in the administrative field he had incorporated revolutionary principles in rational and efficient. Analyze the statement with argument. How was nationalism instilled in the people of France before French Revolution? 5. 6. Why was the Napoleonic rule over other regions unpopular in some sections of Europe? These are the important questions, please note them down. So next we are going to study about the making of nationalism in Europe. So first point, there were no nation states in Europe before nationalism hit it. Eastern and Central Europe were under autocratic monarchies, and people of the territories did not see themselves as sharing collective identity. So what is autocratic monarchies? Monarchy is basically a nation which is ruled by a king, and they even spoke different languages. Now let us talk about the Habsburg Empire. So what were the places which they occupied? First, Austria and Hungary, a fine region, Austria, Sudetenland, Bohemia are the places which the Habsburg Empire had occupied over the years. So, the aristocracy and the new middle class. Here the map is there, and here you can see the marked places where majority of peasants were there and they had very less power. And the part of Asia had minority of aristocrats and had more power. What did liberal nationalism stand for? Inviolability of private property, freedom of markets, abolition of restrictions imposed by state on movement of goods and capital, liberalism for new middle class, individual freedom, equality before law, government by consent, private property rights, freedom of markets, free movements of goods and capitals. So now let's discuss about the various people who were there in independent Europe. So first, new social groups. First point, working class and middle class. The middle class consisted of industrialists, professionals and businessmen. Ideas of nationalism were popular among educated and liberal middle classes after the abolition of privileges. Now next we are going to study about effects of industrialization in Europe. Features of aristocrats. Common way of living, owned estates for townhouses in countryside, spoke French for diplomacy, families were connected by marriage ties. Features of land in Europe. The West was mostly formed by tenants and small owners. Land was held as small estates cultivated by serfs in Eastern or Central Europe. Serfs are basically forced labor. Now, the main question which arises is, who suffered in the European independence movement? So, women were treated as minor, men without property also were taught and they suffered a lot. And how did they suffer is the next question which arises. A wave of economic nationalism strengthened the wider national sentiments. Next, Napoleon administrative system had created 39 states, each of which had its own currency. A series of custom barriers and custom duties were levied on the way of trade. This in turn hindered economic growth. In 1834, a customs union abolished trade and reduced the number of currencies from 30 to 2. Railways mobility also facilitated economic interest under unification. Important questions from this part of the chapter. Interpret the concept of liberalism in the field of economic sphere during the what was the meaning of liberalism in early 19th century in Europe? So please note down these questions. This may come into the board papers which you are going to write. Now, new conservatism after 1815. First of all, what do you mean by conservatism? Conservatism is basically a belief that the traditional institutions of state and society shall be preserved. For instance, church and monarchy, etc. Conservationists did not propose to return to the pre-revolutionary days. They realized that modern army, efficient bureaucracy, dynamic economy, abolition of feudalism and serfdom could strengthen the autocratic monarch of Europe. Now, the main part of this chapter comes ahead. So, this is Treaty of in 1815. So, it was hosted by Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich, as you can see in the picture here. He was ambassadors of European states, Russia, Prussia, Britain and Austria. Treaty of Vienna, what did it describe? First, Bourbon dynasty was again in power. France lost its territories. German confederation of 39 states set up by Napoleon was left untouched. Set up by boundaries to prevent French expansion. Autocratic attitude of conservative regime. Did not tolerate criticism and dissent. Curbed activities under questioned their legitimacy. Censorship laws on newspaper plays, songs and etc. This inspired nationalists to fight for certain things such as freedom of press. The revolutionaries. Cause of effect. Members, liberal and nationalists began to operate underground. Objectives: to oppose the autocratic regime for liberty and freedom, to oppose monarchical forms. Next, we are going to study fear of repression that led to the formation of secret societies. Now, this is Giuseppe Mazzini, who is an Italian politician, and he played a very important role in the European unification. Now let's study about him a bit. So his description: Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian politician, journalist and activist for the unification of Italy. The spearhead of the Italian revolutionary movement. Born 22nd June 1805, Genoa, Italy. Died 10th March 1872, Pisa, Italy. Nickname: the beating heart of Italy. Influenced by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Plato. As a young man at 24, he was sent to exile in 1831 for attempting a revolution in Liguria. Founded in two societies. First, Young Italy in Marseilles and Young Europe in Bern. He is a very important personality. Now, let us study about the leaders of revolutions in Europe. So, first of all, Otto von Bismarck, Giuseppe Mazzini and Giuseppe Garibaldi were the three main people who took up the revolution of Europe. Important questions from this part of the chapter. First, describe in brief any four features of Vienna Treaty, or what are the main proposals of Vienna Congress? Both are the same. What was the impact of Treaty of Vienna 1815 on European people? Who hosted the Congress of Vienna in 1815? How had revolutionaries spread their ideas in many European states after 1815? Explain with examples. Now, we will study about the age of revolution 1830 to 1840. This is a very important period. So, first, revolutions were led by educated middle class elite. Liberalism plus nationalism versus conservative regimes. Now, first upheaval of France, July 1830. Outcomes: established constitutional monarchy, Louis Philippe became its head. When France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. Duke Metternich. It is a very important quote which is passed out by Duke Metternich. Now, let's study about the July Revolution. Brussels. Outcome: Belgium broke away from the United Kingdom of Netherlands. Greek War of Independence against Ottoman Empire. Outcome: Treaty of Constantinople 1832 recognized Greece as an independent nation. The Roman Romantic imagination of national feeling. Romanticism, let's define Romanticism right now for you. So, Romanticism, a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiment through art and poetry, stories and music. This is a pic of Johann Gottfried Herder. Let's find out the meanings of Volksgeist means nationalism or national spirit. Das Volk, the people. Now, the three main points: share cultural heritage, common culture, and mystical feeling.
Start.
Now let's study about the case of Poland. Partitioned by great powers in the 18th century. Language. Let's state the definition of language, which is stated by the case of Poland or Poland. Language, a weapon of national resistance. Karol Karpunski celebrated Polish through operations. So you can see her pic here. Now, hunger. We are going to study about hunger, hardship and popular revolt. 1830, economic hardship in Europe. Those were the hardest days for the Europeans to live. And in 1848, the population increased.
Start.
More job seekers than jobs. So, Europeans had big problems of jobs, and they had less jobs than job seekers. Aristocracy still in power. Peasants struggle. Food prices, shortage of food and employment. Population migrated from rural areas to cities. All these causes brought the population of Paris out on the roads. In the year 1848, barricades were erected. Now let's study about the case of France. The French Revolution was led by educated middle class. Next, for the abdication of monarch, they led the revolution. 3. To achieve republic based on universal male suffrage. Suffrage is the right to vote. Now, let's see about the outcomes, what came out in the French Revolution. So, first point, National Assembly proclaimed a republic, granted suffrage to all adult males above 21 and guaranteed the right to vote. National workshops to provide employment were set up. Silesian weavers uprising in 1845 against contractors for low wages. We are going to study about this in the next slide. So, now let's touch the case of Germany. Here you can see the map of Germany, and let me just read out all the points which are taken forward in the case of Germany. Middle class people came together and validated for all German National Assembly. Drafted constitution. Friedrich Wilhelm IV, King of Prussia, rejected the assembly. Assembly was forced to disband. Now, what is the role of women in the European struggle for independence? Women had formed their own political associations and founded newspapers and taken part in political meetings and demonstrations, but still they were denied of suffrage rights. Important questions from this part of the chapter. How did Romanticism seek to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiments during the 18th century? Second, the decade of 1830 had brought great economic hardship in Europe. Support the statement with argument. Let's touch the unification of Germany again. Otto Bismarck, architect of the process of unification of Germany. 2. Prussian army and bureaucracy helped Bismarck. 3. 7 years of war with Austria, Denmark and France. 4. Prussia got victory. 5. January 1871, an important date. The Prussian king, Kaiser William I, was proclaimed as German emperor in the ceremony at Versailles. 6. A new state with Prussian dominance modernized currency, banking and legal system in Germany. The making of Italy. During middle of 19th century, Italy divided into 7 states. Italy, Sardinia, Piedmont, ruled in princely state. Next, North Austrian. Third, Center Pope, and southern region dash Bourbon King of Spain. Now, what are the things that Joseph Mazzini tried to do? He formed secret society, Young Italy. Failure of revolutionary uprisings in 1831 and 1848 made King Victor Emmanuel II to unify Italy. Now, the main two people. Now, Chief Minister Keber led the movement of Southern Piedmont, defeated the Austrian forces in 1859. Joseph Garibaldi succeeded in winning the support of the local peasants of two Sicilies in order to drive out the Spanish rulers. In 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was finally proclaimed as the King of United Italy. You can see the Italian flag here. The strange case of Britain. English, Welsh, Scottish and Irish. Here are the conditions of their of their living and their lifestyle as images. Now, these are all ethnic of Britain and their lifestyle. Resulted in formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The English Parliament was thus able to influence Scotland even when the Parliament was dominated by English people. Scottish Highlands were suppressed. No Gaelic language. No national custom of Scotland. These are the three main cases of Scotland merging into the United. Start.
I started.
Ireland was deeply divided between Catholics and Protestants. English helped the Protestants of Ireland to establish their dominance over largely Catholic country. Revolt of Wolfeton for Catholics of Ireland failed 1789. Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801. Union Jack was made. National anthem was God Save Our Noble King. Visualizing the nation. Artists in the 18th century represented a country as if were a person likely with female figures. Female figure became allegory of the nation. For example, French Revolution artists used female allegory to portray ideas such as liberty, justice and the republic. These are the two main female figures used to convey those messages. First, Marianne was displayed in France and Germania was displayed in Germany. Nationalism an ideology that promotes the interest of a particular nation. A policy of extending a country's rule over often by political and economic control over or of other areas. Now, here you can see the Balkan region and the complete map of where the Balkan region existed. The features of last quarter of 19th century. Nationalism no longer retained its idealistic liberal democratic sentiment. 2. Nationalist groups became increasingly intolerant of each other. Major European powers manipulated the nationalist aspirations of other nations in Europe to boost their imperialist aim. Case of Balkans. Balkans in 1871 were under the control of Ottoman Empire. ideas of romantic nationalism spread in the Balkan. They claimed for independence or political rights on nationality and subjected foreign domination. Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, keen on countering the hold of other powers over the Balkans. This led to the series of wars in the reign and finally the First World War. Imperialism and colonialism. Nationalism aligned with imperialism led Europe to disaster in 1914. Anti-imperial movements that developed everywhere. Colonized nations began to oppose imperial domination. Nation states came to be accepted as natural universal. No longer retained its idealistic democratic sentiment by the last quarter of the 19th century in Europe. Analyze the statement with examples. Describe the explosive conditions prevailed in the Balkans after 1871. Europe. Describe the process of unification of Italy. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe my video.